Hello, my lovelies. I'm Ginny O, the author with no last name, and today I want to talk more about some controversial topics, including AI algorithm scraping, young adult book length, and book prices. I want to talk about AI algorithm scraping in reference to data sets in AI art and AI writing, and also about young adult book lengths, because this is something that's kind of important to think about, and a talk about book prices, because Bestie Becca went book shopping this December and early January, and both of us got some sticker shock. So let's talk about that and why book prices are not good at the moment. So first off, I don't know how many people here in my subscribers or my viewers are into the art community or in the writing community, and how much you know about these new AI programs that are out there scraping the internet for what they call data sets to train artificial intelligences. Now, there are a couple of these going on. I know of at least one or two for art and one or two for writing. And what is happening is, instead of taking art that is rather in the public type domain, these robots, these bots, are going through the internet and scraping people's social medias. They're scraping Pinterest. They're scraping Instagram. They're taking art from actual artists to train their artificial intelligences without paying the artist for the use rights of their work. And so people are using these data sets, and they go in and they put in little keywords, or they put in titles of books or whatever, and including traditional publishers, to create these artificially intelligent generated images to pass them off as art. Now, there are two things can be true at the same time. We can say artificial intelligence, AI generated art is interesting and cool, but at the same time, it is very true that this is being very exploitative and is not fair or right to the artists who are being exploited to train these data sets. So we're already seeing issues with artists will be doing live streams, and they'll have like a sketch, and they're working to take that sketch from the sketch to a final product that they are doing for a customer, or they're doing to put up for sale on their Etsy, or put up on their Instagram to create more content. And they will have somebody screen cap the sketch that they've worked hard on, learned a lot of skill, put that sketch into an AI art generator, toss a couple keywords, and then turn around and tell the artist that they need to credit them and the AI art generator for the final piece that the artist is still actually working on. This is bullshit. I'm going to come out and say bullshit this time instead of bull hockey. It is just complete and utter bullshit. And we actually now have big authors and big publishing companies. For example, the kid who wrote Aragorn, he's no longer a kid, but the guy who wrote Aragorn, the Dragon series, his latest book is going to be called Fractal, and the publishing company has decided to use an artificially intelligent generated image for the cover, which is going to be cutting out art illustrators, book cover illustrators from getting paid at all, and some of their works might have been scraped already to put into these data sets that will be able to create images that look like they've been watercolor painted or look like they're anime, you know. And the more that these AI dataset images are expanded and the algorithm is refined and trained, the harder it's going to be able to tell the difference between an AI generated image and a artist created image using, their digital tools or even their markers, paints, and pencils, hardcore tools. So right now, sometimes you can look at artificially generated images with art and be like, that makes no sense. They got 6 fingers and they're blah, all sorts of things that are not quite right about this AI generated image versus the actual image that the artist intended, because artists will not put their own work in, but will find that people have put, things similar to like a sketch of their work into it. So they will take this AI generated image from wherever they found it and they will compare it to their own image and be like, look, look, this can be cool, but there's no soul to it, and it's completely nonsensical. It doesn't work, in any way, shape, or form, and it's not, it's not. It takes away from all the hard work that I've done to say that it can be done by a computer AI. Now I've seen a lot of arguments about, it, they're trying to replace the artist jobs with AI, and there is some truth to that. I think, but it's kind of one of those. The major truth of this is the exploitation of a lot of years of hard work and skill of artists being stolen by bots and people who write these bots to train artificial intelligence. We thought about so much about, can we do it? We didn't seem to think about what we should, and what rules we should be using on the type of data and how we acquire this data and where we find this data to train these algorithms. And the same is starting with a writing algorithm. And what the bot did was it scraped AO3. So you're finding that people are putting in parameters for stuff into this writing bot, and it's coming up with a lot of weird and crazy things that are very prevalent over on AO3. And that means that the writing bot needs a lot of work, and the writing AI needs a lot of work before it would become anywhere remotely sensible enough to be, publish your own books. But people are not going to wait for that to say, create scam books to put up on Amazon to, exploit an algorithm and program bots to buy them. They're not going to wait for that. This is going to let them get past the, Amazon's little AI thing that scans books and make sure you're not plagiarizing for somebody else, So you got to think a little bit more outside the box of, oh, this is bad just because, it scraped AO3. Now, a lot of people are worried because, like, oh my God, we gotta lock our stuff behind an archive lock so, it can't be seen. And it's just like, it's not exactly that simple. And it's already scraped it, so it's too late. But we need to think about, while we're building these artificial intelligence things, how we can go about teaching them in an ethical manner. Now, I think AI is cool for concept art. That's it. I would be like, okay, I'm not great at creating my own concept art, I'll give a sketch to somebody and, I don't want my exact sketch returned to me. So, I can see we're doing AI concept art to give you a better idea of what you're trying to do would be cool, but I'm not going to trust that a concept art to have correct anatomy or, historically correct outfits or the right color schemes or things like that. I think it's neat for concept art or thumbnails, but I would not trust making a book cover with it, or especially if it's going to have a face. I wouldn't trust trying to make art with it in order to sell, basically. So just let's think about the ethics of what we're doing, you know, the morality. If it, even if it's legal, doesn't make it right, okay? And then the other thing is, the other two things I kind of want to talk today are not really related to the AI algorithm stuff, but that came up last video, so I wanted to get it out in this video because that video was already like 30 minutes. So, book lengths. I've been thinking about querying. Even though I said a couple months ago that I'm not sure now is the time to be querying, but I have been thinking about it because I have finished some projects up and I was just kind of like, should I query them? And the thing is, they are young adult projects. Most of the books I have, the 5 books I currently have published right now, and the book I'm working on right now that I want to publish next before I do any other type of publishing, they're adult or quote-unquote new adult books because the age range is the protagonist is early 20s, so that is, you know, new adult. New adult doesn't exist, folks, but if you wanted to call it new adult, go ahead, call it new adult, but for me, I wrote them for adults. They have adult length word counts of 165k plus or 110k plus. So those to me are adult books. So I've been finishing up these projects that I have geared towards young adult, not because of protagonist age, but for the most part, but just because the content of them, one of them is kind of a Nancy Drew type series, and another one is a full-out fantasy type kind of Hades Persephone story, and with a mystery. And I've been finishing them up, and I've been hitting word counts between 40 and 45k. That's 40,000 to 45,000 words, which puts me at an impasse because publishers and agents don't want to see young adult books less than 50,000 words. And this is kind of confusing. Young adult, as it is a fairly new marketing category. These are books, they're not supposed to be a genre, even though sometimes they treat it as that, but these are books that are supposed to be written and marketed towards teens with teen appropriate messages, themes, content. For instance, ACOTAR was actually written for adults, got marketed as young adult because they were trying to ride that Twilight high still, I guess, or something, and then got remarketed and rebranded for adults again later on a second print run because they realized, oops, this really was for adults after all. So these are books, and these ACOTAR books have contributed to a lot of books that were written by adults for adults, be it because of the name of the author or the gender of the author, having their adult books with adult themes and adult type appropriate content being recommended or shelved in young adult, which really upsets the authors because that's not where they belong. But when it comes to word count length, a 50k word count is hitting up there in like the type of books you are reading for English class that you really hate. Like To Kill a Mockingbird is more than 50,000 words, you know, Scarlet Letter, 1984, books like that, that young adults, they're not reading these longer books for fun. They're reading them because somebody has decided that this is the classist This is the classical literature type of thing, and we all need to learn this to understand, to improve our critical thinking skills in high school. And it's just kind of like, now what we're doing is teaching our kids to hate reading, but okay, you do you. So when it comes to books that, like classical literature is not something that is technically written or marketed towards teens. So when you're looking at stuff that's written and marketed towards teens, you want them to actually go to the shelf and pick it up. So you want it to be of a length that they're not intimidated by it, that when they open it up, pick it up off the shelf and open it up, they're like, okay, this has an easy read, this has a reading style appropriate for my level, it has my age group, it has, it's a thinner length so I can get hooked into it and finish it easier. Most teens, I was not most teens, do not pick up 300-page books, okay? Most teens were not me, okay? I'll show you the book I was reading as teens. Okay, they're right here. So I started reading these. This is Mossflower, the hardcover edition, in about 3rd or 4th grade. My fellow teens were reading Goosebumps. That's fine, okay? I realized I was not normal. And as much as I love Brian Jakes, and as much as I think that he has a very easy reading style, and that he's very funny, and that, like, kids would be, it's good for kids to read Brian Jakes, I would understand kids not going into the store and not wanting to pick up a book that's this thick. It makes sense. Like, this is something that you pick up for your kid as an audiobook, and once they're into it and they want to read them on their own, maybe when they're a little older or whatever, that then they would pick them up for them to read on their own later. That is literally how I got into them. My 3rd grade teacher, he read us Mossflower with voices. He did voices for this. Best teacher ever. And that after he finished this, I was like, are there more? Are there more? And I ran down to the school library, and I was like, oh, there's more! Give me! So, and I'm pretty sure I was the only one in class that did that, but, I was, like I said, I have been reading since I was very, very young, and to me, this is fine. If I got more fighting mice, this was fine. And my parents were totally okay with it. But most teens want a shorter book. And I'm just, 50,000 words is not necessarily a shorter book. Even, like, the first Narnia is within, like, 35,000 words. And, so I'm sitting here and I have these young adult projects and they're hitting 45,000 words, and I'm going, why does this to me feel right for a young adult book, for something that if I wanted to hook readers on something short, a short, fun read, something that's appropriate to their age group, that, is going to grab a broader audience, why do I feel like this, a 50,000 book is just, book is just a little too long? And so it's really frustrating to see that publishers and agents are pushing a longer word count for young adult, given how big the young adult age group is. You're hitting 12-year-olds to 18-year-olds, and sure, an 18-year-old's going to want a longer book, but 12-year-old is going to want a shorter book. And there are going to be some 18-year-olds who never really want to get into super long books. So it's like, I want to be writing these young adult books, or I have written these young adult books I think could be really fun, but I don't feel like I'm encouraging, being encouraged to query them, because they're just, and it's just pushing it too long. And this is what's happened when you start making your young adult books longer. It starts pushing the adult books to be longer. An adult book used to be okay to be 50K. Now it's 80K. If I'm writing a book and it doesn't hit 80K, it's like, for an adult, and That hasn't happened to me yet, but you know, if that was the case, I would feel wary about trying to query it, of it having it not hit 80K words to an agent. You know, they're very, very insistent on, you know, that for pricing means, which brings us kind of to our last topic here. Book prices. Oh my God, what has happened? So Becca was like, I need to pick up. I've got some. I'm going to buy some books, and I was like, okay. And she's like, I want to pick up some books that I know I'm going to put on my shelves. I'm going to love to have on my shelves, and I'm going to read them. And I'm like, good. And she goes and she looks and she's like, what? Why is this paper bag $18? What? Okay, paper bag? And I'm like, what's going on here? So I was like, I went to Amazon, and I clicked on Amazon, and she's like, yeah, the hardcover books are almost $30. The paperbacks are $18, and you got a mass paperback still for about $9. No, I'm not doing the blank 99 because that's bullshit. Okay, that's a trick we need to stop. So I'm looking at it going, oh, they're counting paperback as a trade paperback. Okay, so let me show you the difference between a trade paperback and a mass paperback, and I'll do it with Jim Butcher books. I could do it with my own book, but let's do it with the Jim Butcher books. So, alright, so let's, here's Stormfront, and here's, alright, and here's. So, we have literally about 3 sizes in paperbacks anymore. So this was your original mass paperback book. Now this is an this one was $8 US when I bought it, and I don't remember when I bought this one. It was published in 2000. So this was an $8 book. We've now gone up to $9 on that. And this one is what might be the mass paperback now. It's a little taller than, it's the same width, but it's a little taller. And this one is $9.99 US, the small favor. And then what we have here is what we call a trade paperback. And it's virtually the same size as a hardcover, and this one is $16 US. So this is something I think I bought, Side Jobs, I bought a couple years ago. But yeah, this one I bought it because I bought it at Target. So when you're going to Amazon and you're looking at a paperback, this is what you're going to get. You are going to get a $16, $18 trade paperback that's about the same size as hardcover, if not the same size. And then if you want something that is smaller, that is the mass paperback, you're going to be getting this now. You're not going to be getting this size. You're going to be getting this size. So my paperbacks, my books would be considered trade paperbacks because they're almost the same size. And all of this comes down to how much paper they're using to create the book, and you know, the binding. So on a hardcover, you have a more expensive binding because it's a cardboard binding versus this kind of flimsy, thicker paper type binding. And you know, they're going to use hopefully better glue, though I've had some really bad hardcovers with the glue thing. It's them falling apart. And so basically, what this is, well, some of this is industry standard pricing. There's a lot of industry standard pricing because they use a lot of the same printers. You know, we've got 5 major publishers, but they're all using the same printer because there's not a lot of printers, so the printer can set whatever they want. And then they claim there's a paper shortage, so that jacks prices up. And then, you know, then they just never bring them back down because they think they can get away with it. And this is really bad just because we are pricing people out of books. Even your Kindle books are upwards of $12, $13 anymore. So it used to be, you know, you make a lot more money if you buy an ebook from an author. The author makes more money off of ebooks, but that's not quite the case anymore. They're not making as much money. But this is pricing people out of being able to read. Not everybody in the world has access to the library system that the United States have. Not everybody in America even has access to a library system, even in America. And libraries themselves end up usually paying twice as much as a commercial for a commercial license, or as a personal type of license. Like when you buy a book, let's pretend it's a personal license. Libraries end up paying twice as much, or they end up paying a certain set fee for however many ebook takeouts that they're going to get on a certain book, to put it on their shelves, because publishers know that that book is going to go out more, and it's going to depend on your library and how big of a library you have and how many books are in that library's circulation, whether or not the librarian personally wants to buy hardcover books because they last longer and they know they're going to go out a lot, so they're going to get a lot more wear out of them, or if they want to buy paperback books because they know they're not going to go out quite as much and it takes up less space and it's easier to get rid of them when the time comes to put them up for sale to help support the library. But like, people are already talking about how when they go to Kindle, they don't they're looking for the free books. They're looking for the 99 cents books. And you know, you can make your sales and you can be like, oh my god, I'm going to set the first book free, and that's going to tempt everybody to buy everything else. And a lot of customers that I hear talking are like, no, I'm just going to go find somebody else's free book. I don't care how good your book is. I don't care if you leave it off on a cliffhanger and expect me to buy the second book, which, by the way, is a really shitty thing to do. I'm just going to go buy somebody else's book that's, you know, 99 cents or free, and not buy your $3.99 book or whatever it is. I price my books at $3.99, not $12.99. But, you know, if I wanted to be competitive, I should be going into my book sales and being like, okay, I'm going to price my trades at $16, $15, $16. If I wanted to do international trade sales of my paperback books, say, you know, you're in Europe and you want to read my book as a paperback, and you realize it's not available, you can only get the ebook internationally, I would have to go in, set it to international, and up the price to $25 to even make 25 cents off of a sale in Europe. I don't feel that's right. Like, because I can't do individual, I can't say this book is going to be $12 in the United States and this book is going to be $25 in Europe. I can't do that. It's one set price. So that means I would be getting over $2 or $3. Actually, at 25, I've got a 25 cents right here, and they're like at $12 or something like that. So I would be getting like $13 in profit off of one paperback sale in the United States, and 25 cents if it's sold in Europe. And is that really fair? No. Good for me, but not really fair. You know, it's just insane. And, you know, with the recession, with our recession looming or global inflation coming on, we're going to see less book sales because people just won't be able to afford to buy them. And we're already seeing publishing houses going, we're not going to do physical arts, or we're not going to put stuff in bookstores that's, you know, unless it's a lead title. So this is already, these too high prices are already affecting not only readers, but they're affecting authors, because this physical books is how authors do their marketing. Physical books in libraries and physical books in the hands of art creators and influencers, and just physical books in general are how they get the word out that this I exist. So it's just bad. And I feel really bad for people who want to read, these books and are seeing all these really great books coming up or coming out in 2022 and upcoming 2023, and they want to buy them and they just can't afford to buy them. And this will drive people to ebook piracy. This will drive people to places like Wattpad, where they can hope they can find cheaper books, or places like Royal Road, or it will drive people just to continue to read more fan fiction, or download hundreds of free books on Amazon, which does nothing for the authors really, unless they're on Kindle Unlimited and they're getting paid turns out of it. And it's just going to encourage more authors to take their blood, sweat, and tears and hard work and sell it for nothing. It's exploitative. Well, Amazon doesn't care because they're selling ads to authors, so that's their product, like I said in my previous video. So I don't know when book prices are going to come down. They've never come down in my lifetime. Like, when I was in high school, I was buying books for $5. I was buying these mass paperbacks for $5. And now it's, up to $9. $9. And you're like, oh, that's only $4 in 20 years. That's not a lot. And it's just like, yes, but for some people, that is a lot of money to spend on a book. And that's why, libraries are so important. And, but even then, if you slashing funding to libraries or charging libraries more for books, if they're buying them directly from the publisher instead of buying them off of Amazon or something, then that it still hurts. It hurts libraries too. These high prices hurt libraries. They're not going to be able to put as many books in their library from as many authors that they would want to do so because of the high book prices. So let's sum up here. AI algorithms are data scraping things in non-ethical ways, and we need to have some sort of regulation or some thought about what's going on so artists and writers aren't exploited. Ooh, exploitation is a big theme in this. Young adult books are they're asking for too long of a books, and we might start losing readers, teen readers, because they can't find books of a length they want to read. That's not fun. That's not good for them. And we're losing stories because they're not an arbitrary word length. So let's start marketing our young adult books towards teens again. 12 to 18-year-old, that's young adult. It's a pretty broad thing. So let's not just make it, for 18-year-olds. Let's make it again for 12-year-olds too, okay? And then high book prices, bad, exploiting the authors, because the authors aren't getting more money just because their book prices are higher. It's still getting eaten up in marketing costs and bookbinding costs and stuff like that. So it's not like authors are being paid more just because their books are more expensive. And this is just encouraging exploitation and ebook piracy. It's not good. I don't know why this should be controversial, but it probably is. Anyway, thank you for listening. Take care of yourselves. Bless. Stay safe. And I'll see you in the next video.